The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome back to the Brandon Peters Show as we close the week with a song. And of course, this particular episode is a part of
The Summer of 82 at 40.
The Summer of 82 at 40, the music video series. Joining me this week is the creator of Sparkshooter and writer for Saturday Evening Post and Graphic Policy, my friend in Satan, Troy Brownfield.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. No Satan related. Well, kind of Satan related content.
This is definitely of the occult persuasion.
Oh, they call it. So Troy, Summer of 82. You're older than me. You actually probably have memories from it. I was at the time of us this dropping here. I'd be like 5 months old at this time. So 0 point something years old. What are your memories of the summer of 82?
82, 83 was my fourth grade school year.
Mm-hmm.
So, the stuff that I remember pretty vividly would be Wrath of Khan, E.T., some music to a degree. I was into music, but my where I lived, we didn't have MTV yet. It took a while to get it into the cable system. If people know anything about the rollout of MTV, when it debuted in August of 1981, it did not have coverage in the country. In fact, it wasn't in most of the country. And your primary music delivery systems were still radio or solid gold. So, but the songs that Brandon and I will be talking about over the next few months, I have a good, strong memory of 3 of the 4 of them. The one I do not is this one.
Gotcha.
Interestingly enough. And so it's kind of funny to revisit that. But Conan, I remember Conan coming out.
Gotcha.
And not being able to see it because I was too young, and I was my awareness of Conan at the time was predicated entirely on Marvel Comics. It was not,
gotcha.
Based on the stuff that I would learn later. That he came from all of these books and whatnot. It was just
he goes back to the 1930s. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's my headspace at the time. I had Atari was big. Atari Home System, Dodgers were big in baseball. Fernando Valenzuela. That's it's all coming back to me now. Of course, you were in the run up to Bird Magic hadn't met in the NBA finals yet.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Magic they had taken wins, and this was the Bird Magic era, but they don't play each other until 84 in the finals.
Right.
So, and obviously Poltergeist.
The video we are talking about today is The Other Woman by Ray Parker Jr. from his debut album of the same name. Parker was a member of the group Radio. That's RAYDIO. And this is his first solo effort. Other members of Radio's post careers include making songs for both Breakin' movies. The Other Woman peaked at number 4 on the Hot 100 and number 2 on the Hot Black Singles chart, which sounds like a dating service more than a chart thing. Number 23 on the Adult Contemporary, number 24 on the Dance chart. Album peaking at number 11 on the Billboard Top 200 and went number 1 on the R&B Hip Hop Albums chart and number 16 for the year on that chart. There is something strange in this neighborhood, but Ray Parker Jr. was a rock star before Ghostbusters, did a lot more, even became somewhat of they attempted to make him a movie star. he stars in a little movie that I like a lot. That's never seen the light of day since VHS, called Enemy Territory, with Tony Todd, which is basically The Raid. That movie, the Thai action movie. It's The Raid in the 80s with Ray Parker Jr. as your hero and Tony Todd as the gang leader. Like,
I think that I saw that on it was either HBO or Showtime. It was in the 80s.
Yeah.
But and I do remember the VHS floating around the video store where I worked. But it's a
cool movie. I think you can find it. I think if you search correctly on YouTube, it's there. There's a VHS rip. And I have to say, like, that kind of stuff, if you're not making that available and it's free on YouTube, like, what was the availability? No one wants to go pay $125 for an OOP VHS. So I'm always okay if the access is there. The music video for this is directed by Brian Grant, who has done loads of music videos, and he's easily a pioneer of the early days. Like, he did videos for Kim Wilde's Spandau Ballet, Queen, almost every Olivia Newton-John video, including Physical, which won the first ever Grammy for a music video. He did Edge of 17 for Stevie Nicks, Peter Gabriel's Shock the Monkey, Tina Turner, Liza Minnelli. We'll talk later in the summer of 82 at 40 series, but he directed Heat of the Moment he produced Heat of the Moment for Asia. He did not direct it. And he produced Whitney Houston's I Want to Dance with Somebody. But big TV director after this, mostly British stuff, but he does Highlander. He did Red Shoe Diaries, and the episode did have David Duchovny in it.
There you go.
He did an episode of Doctor Who in the modern series, the first season with Christopher Eccleston. The episode The Long Game, which starred Simon Pegg and the one adventure companion, Adam. And this little series that was on British television, I can't remember if it was BBC or ITV, it was called Hex. Did you ever watch Hex?
Yeah.
It was a cool show, and it flipped itself because of casting changes in like the second season. It was crazy. But he directed some of that show.
Right on.
But bringing this up, horror music videos, Corey and I, your first video we did on here was Huey Lewis in the News. And this one we talked about, like, there's always this history of, we didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah.
And it beat them all to the punch.
The curious subgenre of Universal monster influenced music videos. And that when I thought about it, when I watched this for the first time and was kind of in mild disbelief, it made me remember other videos kind of through the next couple of years. Telephone by Sheena Easton, which comes out, I think, a year after this, is deliberately Universal monster influence, but it's also done in black and white and got other stuff. It has King Kong in it too.
Oh, wow.
It's Universal. But and then Crazy in the Night by Kim Carnes has a Frankenstein monster, and even when she did the song on Solid Gold, the Frankenstein monster was even on stage. So
he's coming on tour.
Weird shit. But yeah, this is one of those that just it strikes me that, like, the pitch scene in Don't Forget My Number by Phil Collins, where all the different directors are giving him all the different treatments. So it's like, you're a samurai, you're a cowboy, and all this stuff. It's like somebody sat down with Ray Parker Jr. It's like, hey man, you like Universal horror movies? I do. Okay. Let's make that.
There you go. But there was 2 videos for this. The other is just a straight up performance video. It's not very interesting. So we're of course covering the Universal Monster one, which is pretty nifty. I don't know how, like, the 80s, when they went for throwback nostalgia classic horror, like, it rocks, like, all the time. It's not expensive. They don't try to, like, completely modernize things. They kind of embrace that feel, but it's just in color now with a lot of things. Like, there I mean, a lot of TV shows, it reminds me of, Clue, And there's that. Do you remember was it Universal Studios? There was the Foley art ride
okay.
where you would there was a Chevy Chase Martin short, little haunted house short.
Yeah.
And I said it twice, but people would Foley and then they play back everybody's Foley at the end. And just that classic, I don't know, that European countryside house that they would put some cobwebs on, or maybe it's because they didn't overdo it, possibly, with the lighting and stuff.
Yeah, one of the things that is interesting about it is that the way that the video is presented is that it is on message for the song. It does have the, literal other woman, in this case, the vampire woman, and all the talk about with lyrically the temptation aspect and so forth. But when, hate to spoil anything for anybody, when Ray Parker Jr. makes the transition to the vampire figure himself, they do him looking very akin to Blackula.
Yeah, he looks just like Blackula. That's what I was like, holy crap.
And everything, and like, that's really cool. That's like an on point, because there is no other Dracula figure in it. There's a mummy, there's a Frankenstein monster, there's a Wolfman,
Brides of Frankenstein, Igor on sax.
Yeah, then the other vampire brides. So there's a lot of awareness, a lot of conscious homage in it. They're having a good time, but they know what they're doing. It's because you can sometimes see that when people do the monster stuff, that it's really slapdash, but this is
everything
is
it's got a lighting scheme and vibe that's like genuine and campy at the same time. Like, it's pretty nifty. It's hard to pull that kind of stuff off.
Yeah, and especially for the time. For 82, it seems kind of advanced in retrospect. It seems like there's a little more craft to it than other videos of the time. Good example. Like the song a lot, like the band and the lead singer, but Goodbye to You by Scandal looks like that was filmed in the AV classroom of some high school. I mean, it's just not a high quality video at all. This is miles past that.
Right.
Scandal video is like 2 years later. It's not, the same.
Well, and it's crazy too, because like, I'm looking, this is still early in the music video era. They're still figuring things out, but Ray Parker Jr. is ahead of Thriller here, and B, like, there's towards the end of this music video series, we're going to talk about a video from the Go-Go's that was at the time one of the most expensive videos ever at $50,000. It doesn't look it. This looks way more expensive, and it's probably like $12. It's what you do with it. But granted,
it's the George Romero effect, right? Stephen King in Danse Macabre, I remember this very specifically. He talked about like Dawn of the Dead, Romero's version, versus The Swarm, which came out about a year apart. And Romero shot Dawn of the Dead for a couple $100,000 or whatever, and King says he made a movie that looked like it was made for $20 million, and The Swarm looked like it was made for $250. That it looks just like so cheap, and the rear projection and stuff they did just absolutely sucked. And meanwhile, Romero's got Savini and all the other stuff. He just makes it look great. He gets every nickel out of it.
Right, and it's talent. Like we just talked about. It should have been maybe the week before this. Midnight. It was John Russo, who was the co-creator of Night of the Living Dead. He went on to have his own. They split nastily. But he makes this movie called Midnight, and Scott mentioned, he's like, this couldn't have cost. It just had to be in the same wheelhouse of budget as Night of the Living Dead, but that looks like a polished picture. This looks like, I'm like, because Romero's missing. That's the deal. Talent is talent. Like James Wan and Lee Wanell currently, you give them $2, they're going to bring you back a movie that looks like $100 million. And it's just, it's what you do. It's who you have. And that does matter a lot. You can throw, there's so many movies nowadays that you see the budget and you're like, I didn't see it on the screen. Where was it? Like, Yeah. But that, Romero is this, up and down, whatever the end quality product of his films and stuff. He wasn't perfect, but he knew how to make a good movie, bring it in with what he had. And I'll never complain about what his movies look like or how they were edited or played out. It'd be all in plot and character if there were complaints.
Yeah, I recently watched Night again for the possibly 100 millionth time with my son Kyle, and this is his first time watching it, and Kyle was kind of shocked at the moviness of Night of the Living Dead. I think he might have expected something a little more exploitive, given the sensational writing around it and everything. And he was aware of it from a film history perspective, but not having watched the stuff. And he was, after we were talking, he's like, "That's a good movie." He's like, "There's like characters and a point and everything." And he's like, "It looks good."
And it punches you in the gut right as you're leaving.
Yeah. He's completely right, but it's just, it is what you said. It's like what you do with it. And this video really makes the case for videos can be fun while also being artful. And they make a point that I feel Ray Parker Jr. kind of suffers later from in other videos. They make a point of showing him play guitar. Yeah. Like the guy could actually play a bunch of instruments. And post Ghostbusters, he kind of gets locked into, I'm the guy in the jumpsuit. But, from he wrote these songs, he played lead on it, he played drums on it. I mean, this guy is a multi-instrumentalist, and the fact that
he's like a regular Dave Grohl of his time,
Yeah, it's the fact that they showed him playing guitar is a big deal too, because first of all, MTV had a real hard time playing black artists at the time, and they certainly weren't emphasizing black rock artists, of which there were a bunch that were not getting the coverage. And so you pointed out that it was ahead of Thriller. It was also ahead of the 1999 era of Prince. I mean, certainly Prince had been on American Bandstand, and he'd had other videos and stuff, but Prince was not as well known at the time. He just was not. And like he kind of distinguished himself on Bandstand as kind of being an asshole. In the interview segment, Dick Clark was asking him real questions, and like, "Oh, how long has your band been together?" And he'd be like, "Hold up, he wouldn't say like 4 years. It's like it's very Prince-like,
building the mystique.
Yeah. So, but Parker comes off as pretty polished, and he's performing in the video too. There's a lot of times when people are in videos, and like even story-driven videos, and all they do is like play to the camera, but this dude is playing to the other actors. And stuff. So you can kind of get that sense of someone seeing him like, "Oh, I bet this guy can actually act."
Yeah. Well, they have like they even put together, like, I don't know if he choreographed or anything like that, if he was involved in that, but there's like a kind of like geeky dream moment of, there's like a Monster Mash dance crew around a pentagram with candles, just dance, and I'm just like, that's amazing. I don't think people can appreciate how great that visual is of them all.
I was not gonna let this go without bringing up the pentagram and the candles, but that's that's also balls too, considering the time.
Oh yeah, we talk about that. Yeah, we talk about that all the time. Yeah, and it's And you know what happened is does Michael Jackson see this and get? That's where I want to go with Thriller, or is that like? There'd never be admitted, but he's like, I'll get John Landis and we'll make something. And that's the difference between what Thriller and this is John Landis, probably.
Yeah. And so Thriller comes out in November of 82. So the album is not done.
Yeah. They probably have to shoot it, or shooting it at the time this video drops.
But Thriller was also I think we talked about this another time. Thriller was the 7th single. On Thriller. It was the 7th single to come out, so they had quite a while before they actually made the video for it. So it probably was all gestating somewhere in the recesses of everyone who saw it, that hey, this would be a good look, and obviously Jackson had the movie aspirations, putting Vincent Price in it and whatnot. It wasn't that
Right.
far off from.
Well, and this song video comes out in the summer too. You'd think this would be like an October thing, or maybe they bumped it because they knew Thriller was coming too. And like, we're gonna get lost or look like a knockoff.
Yeah. Well, it is weird how sort of in movies and whatnot, how horror now tends to get pegged by a lot of people to the fall, when especially when you're looking at the 80s. 81, I wrote an article for the Post a while back that was about Hollywood's werewolf summer of 1981, where you had American Werewolf in London and this string of Wolfen and the Howling, this string of movies that came out one right after another. And but they were summer films, and these other movies that were big summer horror movies, even though there's like this inclination now to push them toward the fall because of the Halloween association. But man, a good horror movie is going to do well when it comes out.
Yeah.
The fans will find it. The fans are the support of horror film, and then word of mouth is the support for the squares to go.
Yeah. I mean, we've had Octobers in the last 10 years that have been void of horror. It's been like, what the heck? Where are they? Or there'll be like one horror movie. It's like, whoa, okay. But
last year, Malignant dropped in the fall. I know that
was September. Yeah, Malignant was September. Halloween Kills was in October.
That's probably why Malignant was in September. They're like, let's get the hell away from that.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to happen. It's really going to come out. So, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. But Malignant will forever be this wonderful cult film now because.
I kind of can't wait to see 15, 20 years from now the dudes that grew up on Malignant the way that some of us grew up on Halloween and stuff are gonna they'll have no rules. It's like, oh, my two favorite horror movies are Malignant and Mandy.
Yes. Oh gosh, yeah.
What kind of movies are those guys gonna make?
Oh, that'd be so good. Oh, I can't wait for it. This song has some smooth little lines. I wasn't familiar with the song too much at all, but it's like, I know the rules of the game. You hit once, then a breakaway clean. I hate to have to cheat, but it feels better when I sneak. And him talking about the girl being a freak, and he goes, makes me want to grab my guitar and play with it all night long.
Yes.
All right. Ray Parker Jr.
It's kind of funny that it didn't wind up on Tipper Gore's list.
Right? Yeah.
It was too early.
Too early. Yeah.
By about a year.
But no, I dug this video. I dug the song. Like, I might dig up some old Ray Parker Jr. I'm, not really 100 like all up on my knowledge of Ray Parker Jr. with that, but I was digging it.
Yeah.
So.
And I do feel like the guy has probably been done a disservice in his place in music and so forth by both Ghostbusters and by the subsequent lawsuit.
Right.
That was just.
That's funny, Troy. You've got to do Huey Lewis in the News and Ray Parker Jr. It's like fitting.
That's weird. Yeah.
But not any of the songs in question. Not any of the songs in question.
Yeah, I just had to check real quick on the Filthy 15 to make sure that Ray Parker Jr. wasn't actually on it, and I was just misremembering it, but no, he wasn't on it. But yeah, could have been. And there's some 83, 84 stuff on here.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it did just miss. Just miss.
Awesome. But don't miss us the next time we're back here with Troy. He'll be back in a few weeks like everybody else. So thank you, Troy, for stopping in this time. Till then, let people know where they can keep up with you.
Definitely at Saturday Evening Post, SaturdayEveningPost.com. And follow me on Twitter for the time being at Troy Brownfield. And also on Facebook. And that's where you'll find my comic announcements and so forth will be there.
All right. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KUHD. Have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you all again Monday for another big week on the show for Scott and I in the summer of 82 at 40. Until then, stay film positive.
The summer of 82 at 40.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. The Summer of 82 at 40 and News of the Moment themes by Pres Maxson. Additional information on this and other episodes at thebrandonpetersshow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail@thebrandonpetersshow.com. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.